la la. Join us to talk about everything and anything. Anything and everything. Anything and everything. Anything.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Anything and Everything, the show which acknowledges that everyone has a story. I'm your host and producer, Halima Sharif. I'm excited once again to bring you another segment of our New Orleans Music Legends series, where we have had amazing conversations with Edward Kidd Jordan and his daughter Rachel, Jermaine Basil, Victor Goines, Donald Harrison Jr., Nicholas Payton, Herlin Raleigh, Shannon Powell, and James Andrews.
Why am I here?
Well, you're going to find out in a second.
You just named some of the gods and goddesses of music in New Orleans. Why am I here? I got warrants.
Listen,
I got warrants.
You here because you are a legend.
Well, hey, thank you. Thank you. But those are names, oh my God. You mentioned Roger Dickinson, right?
That's right. I surely did.
Yeah, a great, great genius. Did you know
I mentioned him to you earlier. I haven't interviewed him yet, but he's on my list.
Well, did you know that Roger wrote a symphony for the New Orleans Symphony when he was like about 19 or 20?
I surely do. I surely do.
Okay, yeah. I used to listen to him and Ellis when they were in Coss Hall, which has now been destroyed, at Dillard University. I'd stand out the door, and like I told you, that's when I started hearing Miles Davis type jazz. Because I'd been listening to Papa Celestine.
That's right. You told me that earlier.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, well, I am honored to be in Miss Basil and Goins. My God.
Yeah,
legend.
Well, listen, you're a legend too, and you didn't even give me a chance to say who you are, even though I'm sure everybody already know who you are.
Okay.
You know, I was gonna say today we have a special guest that I would like to say he is not only a New Orleans legend, you're a legend, Mr. Garrett Morris. Let's give him a round of applause, y'all.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here, and you're very non-judgmental because I know you know about my warrants. So I appreciate.
Listen, we ain't gonna talk about your warrants because this is gonna be seen in too many places. But you know, you have immunity. You already know that.
All right. Okay. My parole officer is still alive in Orleans Parish.
Man, listen, you're hilarious. You know, as you all know, he's more than an actor. He's got a bunch of other stuff going on with him, okay? But listen, before we get started, I would like to read your bio to everyone before we get into this wonderful interview.
All right.
Or should I say a conversation?
Yes.
Garrett Morris, I'm sorry, I did not mean to call you that. Garrett Morris.
That's all right.
Is an American comedian, actor, and singer. He was part of the original cast of the sketch comedy program Saturday Night Live, appearing from 1975 to 1980. Morris has had a role as Junior Uncle Junior King on the sitcom The Jamie Foxx Show, which aired from 1996 to 2001. Morris had a starring role as Earl Washington on the CBS sitcom Two Broke Girls from 2011 to 2017. He was also known for his role in the sitcom Martin at Stan Winters from 1992 to 1995, and the movie Cooley High. Originally from New Orleans, a church choir singer from his youth, he trained with a professor at Juilliard School of Music and graduated from Dillard University in 1958. Early in his career, he performed with the Belafonte Folk Singers. He performed in a number of Broadway musicals, including Hallelujah Baby and Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death. In 1965, he worked alongside Amiri Baraka, Sun Ra, Albert Eiler, and Sonia Sanchez at the Black Arts and Repertory Theater School in Harlem. During this period, the theater was frequently raided and surveilled by the New York City Police Department and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. He had a small role as a police sergeant in the Anderson tapes in 1971 and was a cast member in the short-lived CBS sitcom Roll Out. Once again, welcome, Mr. Garrett Morris. I'm thrilled to have you joining us this evening.
Halima, I am glad to, Halima.
I know you got it right.
I am glad to be here. And let me correct you. I am a great admirer of Sun Ra, the genius. When I
Yes.
was at Black Arts Theater, he had either left or was not there at the time. But there were like 3 or 4 raids. You're right. And about the fourth one, I decided I would leave Imam. Okay, I said, Imam, I'm from New Orleans. I know about the cops. Let me get out of here now. But yeah, they used to raid a playwright. Mind you, they rated a playwright,
Lord to the mercy.
right? That he was dangerous as a playwright because Imama was, not cutting his, biting his lip. He was telling the truth. But they rated a playwright's workshop over and over again.
Wow, man. Well, I already know that's the precursor of what's next to come with this story we're about to have.
Well,
So listen,
look at. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
no, that's okay. I want to know what part of New Orleans did you grow up in, and what were some of your most memorable moments from your childhood? I know you and I talked earlier before we started the show, but you were sharing some really interesting information about your family.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell the truth.
Okay.
Okay, a lot of dysfunction in my family. I was born, really, I was born in Charity Hospital,
Okay.
but
You go by
I
Chip.
was, yeah, I was raised in Gertown on 3133 Pine Street and on Cottage Court, right?
Yes.
Now, what happened was, and again, I'm just telling the truth, my mom was raped. So
Okay.
I'm the child of a rape. And because I'm such, a strong advocate of, women's rights, I've always been conflicted by that because I'm to this day an advocate of a woman's right to choose. My mom had me despite the rape, and when I was born, my grandfather, who was a great Baptist minister, but he was also a little bit hypocritical because he put my mom out when she was pregnant with me,
Wow.
and she lived in my aunt's house on Pine Street. My aunt Christina, both my aunt and my grandmother, as I told you, were born on a um, reservation in Paquin Parish.
Yes.
And my great grandmother, Sarah, used to sit on the steps and chew tobacco. She was the woman who married the Indian. But my
Hmm.
grandmother, Aunt Tina, had me there for like 6 months until finally my grandmother, Gertrude, went to her house, got me, and with me in her arms, came back to the house where my grandfather was staying. And when she got to the back door to bring me in with my mother, mind you, my grandmother had already called my mother this name I'm going to say. My grandfather said to my grandmother, "You can come in, but that whore can't,"
Mm.
right?
Wow.
And my grandmother told him, "If she doesn't come in, I don't come in." And that broke that up. So from that point on, I was raised by my grandmother, Gertrude, and my grandfather, Thomas Phillips, right? So the first 14 years of my life, despite the beginning, was very positive, right? Because both my grandfather, despite hippie from the pulpit, when he was dealing with me personally, and my grandmother, they were always positive. You can do it. You got talent. You got ability. All of that, right? I'll tell you about the rest of it later on. But that's what I got when my first 14 years had a lot of positive um, support from both my grandmother and my grandfather. Um, my grandfather, though he preached was a great preacher, from the pulpit. He was doing a lot of stuff that he was preaching against in the
Hmm.
pulpit. He was, in fact, doing it himself. And there
Yes.
were 3 or 4 ladies in the congregation who, if they were alive, could attest to that. All right.
Mhm.
Um, by the time I was 14, my grandmother had died, and my grandfather had married a woman he had gotten pregnant. So that messed me with my mother, whom I had, by the time that happened, I was like 10 years old. And at that time, because my mother was pregnant, I got a job on an ice truck, right? And I worked on an ice truck for 2 years, taking care of my mom, because the second father, he was alcoholic, stone cold alcoholic, so he was doing nothing. So by the time I was 13, my mom said to me, I'm going to take you back to New Orleans, which she did. And when she got there, she even asked me whether I wanted to stay with her or with my father's parents. I had never been with my father's parents and didn't know what they were about.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to my mom, I want to stay with my grandfather's parents, right? Only because I've been with my mom's parents so long. I didn't realize what that probably meant to my mom. To this day, I realize now what it might have been saying to her, but I didn't mean that. I mean, simply I've been living with my mom's parents for so long. Let me try my father's parents. And that was the worst thing I could have done. Because in the same way that my mother's parents were very positive, I had particularly a grandmother on my father's side who was pictured, who would have should have gone to school with Donald Trump. She was that narcissistic and possessive. So by the time I was graduated from Dillard, everybody knew that what I wanted to go do was to go to New York and be in show business. My grandmother, because she was possessive and narcissistic, was telling me, no, you're not. You're going to stay here. And I don't know if you know about, well, you do. You're from that area. You know how those old ladies were.
That's right.
They were pretty clannish, right? You did what
Exactly.
you did what they say or else, right? So when I was about to leave the house, I packed up. My grandmother sat and talked reasonably to me. You don't know anybody in the aunt. And I said, no, I got my sister, her her oldest daughter was my aunt, but we called her sister. So I said, no, sister's in New York. She'll keep me up until I get a job. She said, no, 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 blah, blah, blah. And when that didn't work, my grandmother cried. By now, I knew my grandmother, right? So the tears didn't work. So again, you know those old women, right?
That's right.
Bop, bop. The next thing she did was beat the hell out of me, right? And I just covered my head, right? And as I walked out the door, and this is the absolute truth, my grandmother said, I curse you.
Wow.
And that's what I went to. Yeah, I went to New York with that in my head. And when I was in New York, because my aunt's sister cooperated with my grandmother, she put me out the second day I was there. So I wound up in New York City, homeless for about a month and a half.
Mm.
Yeah, and I slept in those. If you've been to New York, you know, by the New York has basement apartments,
That's right. I used to
and
live there.
there are stairs that go down. Right,
Mm-hmm.
I used to sleep there or on top of the projects for like a month and a half until a black cop caught me and dressed me down. I told him I was a college graduate, and he had empathy. He said, look, man, you can't do this. You can't sleep here. You can't do that. You got to find some other way. But what else could I do?
That's
So
right.
I kept doing it. And the next time, a lady saw me on the roof, got another cop who was a white cop, the black cop's sergeant, and he got me, arrested me for vagrancy, and told a black cop, he scolded him for having let me go the first time, and so I wound up in the police precinct on like a 145, 45th Street near St. Nicholas. You know where that
Mm-hmm.
is. You've been there. And so over the weekend, I was crying like a baby because now it looked like my grandmother's prediction was going to come true. And so Monday, when I was brought into court by the black cop, um, um, I saw something that I didn't know existed. I saw a black judge.
Wow.
And later on, his name was Kenneth W. Stamps. If you
Mm.
go into the Wikipedia right now, you see his name. He was an activist
Wow.
uh, judge, right? None of this I knew except I knew his name, right? So the black cop went up to him and whispered in his ear, and he said, "Oh yeah, really?" The black cop told him I was a college graduate,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he called me down. Kenneth W. Stamps called me down and says, "You're a college graduate, right?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Who's your president?" He said, "Well, what college do you go to?" I said, "Dillard." He said, "Who's your president?" Right? Thinking he would get me because apparently God was in the plan for me.
That's
Because
right.
apparently 2 weeks before, there had been a convention held by, I think it was Eisenhower, a convention of black college presidents and black lawyers. And this man had met Albert W. Dent. So right away I said, Albert W. Dent. Kenneth Kim says, send that boy to my chambers. So I went to his chambers. As I'm sitting there, I'm realizing an epiphany is going on.
That's right.
You know, because as I thought I was going to be back in New Orleans, something's going on. Later on, he comes into his office, called the YMCA, and the YMCA allows me to stay there until I got a job. That's how I started in New York City. And in about 6 months later, a member of the Belafonte Singers was practicing downstairs in the auditorium, YMCA in on 135th Street. Remember that? On 135th Street, on 7th Avenue. So I was singing, right? And this guy hears me singing and says, hey, there's a job for you with the Belafonte Singers. So I went down to audition with this guy, Robert DeCormier, and he hired me as a member of the Belafonte Singers as a singer arranger. And I was with them for like 9 years, from 1959 to 1968. I was a singer arranger, but technically speaking, I must tell the truth, there's a lot of competition going on there. So they did only one of my arrangements. But that's how I started in New York City.
Now, you see, that's a pure example, no matter what your spirituality may be, that we may.
I'm a Buddhist now.
Well, we plan, but God is the best of planners.
Hello.
And higher power is always the best of planners. So that curse not really a curse. Your destiny was already in front of you.
Hello, because I was sure I was going to wind up back in New Orleans with my mama, my grandmother looking me in the face and said, see what I told you. But somebody else said, no, that's not going to happen. And I used to call Judge Stamps over and over again to invite him to performances, but he never, ever accepted.
So from 1959 to 1968, you were with him. That's those some great years.
Now, mind you, as I told you before, that's like a 6-month, 8-month job. Meanwhile, while I wasn't with Harry, I was doing acting jobs off Broadway. So I was acting for like 4 months a year, and soon there were also a couple of Broadway shows, named Hallelujah Baby and Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death. So by the time Saturday Night Live came, I had about 20 plays under my belt. Also, I had written a couple of plays. I wrote a play called Stagger Lee, and I also wrote another play called The Secret Place, which was during the 60s. I don't know if you remember, the black groups like SNCC, the Black Panthers, Corps were being infiltrated by black cops.
That's right.
And I wondered, I said, now I know if these cops are infiltrating, say, the Black Panthers, that means they're about my age. And if they come from down south, they know the real truth, right? So how are they negotiating, doing what they're doing, looking in black faces, trying to get rid of this problem, and they're working for essentially the white man, because there could only be a few black cops in a precinct at that time. So in my mind, I said, what is this guy going to? So I wrote a play by my version of what a black cop infiltrating a black activist group would go through, and it's called The Secret Place. It was directed by Bill Duke, by the way. Do you know who Bill Duke is?
I know Bill Duke, that's right, I do.
Yeah, well, it's directed by Bill Duke. Yeah.
Wow, that's one. I'm listening to you, but I'm sure there's like so much more. As we're going to continue talking, the different plays that you've written, and I'm sure I can find them. If they're not online somewhere, it's written. I'm sure the history of it is just amazing.
Well, Stagger Lee was stolen by a monk in New York City. What happened was New York City gave $1,000 a piece for each borough for a playwright to write a play for each borough. I wrote a play for Brooklyn, and Stagger Lee was stolen by a Jesuit monk. And he stole the only copy that I had. To this day, I don't have possession of it. But The Secret Place had never really been printed, but I have it right now in my, matter of fact, I'm rewriting it right now. Me and Bill want to do it at the Nate Holden Theater here in California.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
So you mentioned Dillard University. Let's go back to Dillard. You know, I'm aware that
Okay.
you were an admirer of Ellis Marsalis and
Oh my God. Oh my God.
okay,
First place, I think one time God had this sperm. He had sperm. He said, I got genius sperm here. Who am I going to give it to? And he looked around and he saw Ellis Marsalis. And he just gave Ellis this sperm because Ellis was a genius himself, but he has put out a clan of nothing but geniuses. Winton is a genius. Bradford is a genius. Deb Farrow is a genius. Jason is a genius. And he had a sister, Yvette
right?
Marsalis. I don't know if she's still alive, but she was an ingenious herself when she was at Dillard, right? And I don't know if they have sisters, but God did Ellis put
Amazing.
out some geniuses on the landscape. Right? I mean, I was admirer from that time, from the time I heard him and Roger in that room, I was always admired, but I heard him play the saxophone. I
Mm-mm-mm.
never knew that he was a pianist until later on. I said, damn, he, you know, because then he was playing the saxophone, Ellis was, you know. And he told me, no, Winton told me when I met him
Mhm.
that his father, when I was on Saturday Night Live, used to call him and Bradford and him and say, see, this guy went to Dillard, you can do it all too and all that stuff. Well, boy, have they done it. You
They
know,
really have, man.
my God. I
They-
mean, I may be called a legend, but God, I'm looking up at these guys, light years of genius and a light years of accomplishment. I'm so proud of them as an Arlenian.
yes.
I'm so intensely proud of that whole clan.
So you met them both at Dillard. What was that encounter like? How did you meet them?
Well, I wouldn't say I met her. I was such an admirer. I said, hello, yeah, how you doing, all of that. But that was mostly what it was. Mostly they were rehearsing at Carl's Hall, and I'd say a few words, they'd say a few words, but it wasn't like we were bosom friends. I only became friends with Ellis after he became what he became. When I would come back to New Orleans, and I would go with Charmaine Neville, who, by the way, I hope one day you have her on your
Oh,
thing.
yes, I will.
Yeah, Charmaine Neville has a standard Monday night show,
That's right.
right? And she was generous enough to let me be on the show. Every time I come, Charmaine has me up, right? And a couple of my compositions she did there. I have a composition called "Walking Down Bourbon Street," which she and Emerson, Detroit. Oh God, who's the drummer's name? Oh shucks, I ought to be shouting myself. But Detroit is the guitar player, and Emerson is the piano player.
The Detroit
But
Brook,
yes, yes, yes,
the
yes.
Brook family, the Juanita and all of them, they were all amazing.
Detroit is himself an extraordinary guitar player, extraordinary. So whenever I would come, Ellis talked to me like he already knew me. Right. I mean, the first time I saw him, I must have 10 or 12 times I've gone back. And every time I've gone to his show and he'd sit and just talk, you know. And and I'm saying, because I'm looking at what is a real giant whenever I would talk to him. I'm looking at him with that in my head. And he just talked to me like he was totally accessible every time I would come, you know. So I would say by the time I was there 4 or 5 times, we'd become good friends.
Wow, that is beautiful. I say this to every interview. We have some amazing people. We have an amazing
Don't we though? Don't we though?
we
By the
have
way, do you have Kermit on your list?
Kermit, yep, Kermit, all of it. Listen, my goal is to tell everybody's story.
Yeah, yeah,
Have
yeah,
them tell their story. You know, our culture offers so much to not only New Orleans, but to the world.
yeah,
So it's influenced so many different genres, so many
yeah.
different aspects of our history.
You may not know this name. Emile Vanette
Yes,
was a.
I know.
You do?
Well, Emile Vanette and my
He
father,
was my cousin. He's my cousin.
get out of here, man. See?
Emile is my. We were raised on Pine Street in my aunt Tina's house.
See, we grew up uptown. So I know.
Hey, when Emile was starting to learn the piano, it was in that house on Pine Street.
Wow.
And my cousin Christine, I just talked to her a little while ago. Her brother. That's her brother.
and my son didn't have this conversation about that. Emil Vanette and all.
Even out in Melvin, that, in my opinion, one of the great talents coming out of New Orleans. He died about 10 years ago. He diabetes. He became blind, and then he moved to Fort Sam Houston or something like that. But yeah, great jazz musician.
Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
Boy, see the things I find out with anything and everything. I'm
Yes.
telling you taking me through all kind of history lessons.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So I mentioned during my intro that you have quite an amazing journey. But I want to start with your voice, the singer. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't you sing opera?
Yes, I did, and I always sang as a tenor, but to this day, I think I should have sang as a baritone tenor because I did not have a high C. And I
Okay.
say that because one tour I went on where I sang a song called Que Gelida Manina, which is
Okay.
one of Puccini's great compositions, and it has a high C. And on tour, I kept not getting it. I was trained by, first of all, I was trained by Gladys Jones Hill, who was one of New Orleans' great high school teachers, who was a great influence on me. And Marilyn Davidson also taught me voice when I was at Dillard.
Mm-hmm.
And they all taught me to sing lyric stuff, like Roland Hayes type stuff. You know who Roland Hayes was, right?
Yes, sir.
Right, Roland Hayes. That's what I should have done on the tours every time. But I tried to do dramatic stuff, which I should not have done. But when I went to New Orleans, when I got to New Orleans, I spent 10 years with Bernard U. Taylor, who was one of Juilliard's um, teachers as my coach. Because if you are singing classical music particularly,
Mm-hmm.
you must deal with yourself as an athlete. Athletes must train every day,
Yeah.
right? And
Yes.
if you don't, you won't be up. So same thing with classical singers. This is a muscle, the vocal cord. It's a muscle.
That's right.
So you have to spend at least 2 or 3 times a week with your coach, keeping the muscle together. So for 10 years, I coached with Bernard U. Taylor, as I was also singing with the Belafonte Singers. So I'd be out with the Belafonte Singers for 6 months a year. And as soon as I come back, I get with Bernard U. Taylor. But I graduated from Dillard in voice and composition. To be honest with you, because of the dysfunctional family situation I told you about involving my grandmother and everything, as a Buddhist, I blame myself for everything, but I must include what contributed to the fact that by the time I was a junior, I was off of the honor roll, which I'd been on for 2 years. And by the time I was a senior, I was in my low C's. So I always tell people that I didn't graduate summa cum laude, didn't graduate magna cum laude, didn't graduate summa cum laude. I graduated thank you loud. That's it. Yeah,
And that's what matters.
that's what matters. That's what matters.
Oh yeah, listen. It ain't nothing wrong with graduating. Thank you, Lord.
Hello, hello.
So tell us what inspired you to become an actor. Who were some of your influencers and mentors?
Oh, I have to say, go back to really the first real influence about show business itself was Red Fox.
Yeah.
There was a theater called the Dixie Theater in New Orleans where I should go look at Red Fox and Pig Meat Markham. You know who that was? Pig Meat Markham. You're too young maybe to know who he was.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right. Slappy White and Red Fox used to come.
I know Red Fox, of course.
Yeah, but not Pig Meat. That shows how young you are, right? Right. And Mom's Mabley.
I know my
Uh,
baby.
right. But Red Fox got me started then in the movies. I began to realize that I wanted to do whatever that was they were doing. And people like opera singers. When I was a kid, the people you heard were people like Camilla Williams.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she was a great opera singer.
That
Uh,
name. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I heard um, um, his name. He's a jazz singer now. Oh shucks, oh my God, McFerrin, Robin McFerrin.
Oh, Bobby McFerrin. Yes, yes,
His father,
yes. Okay, okay.
great. You ever heard him sing?
Yes, I have. Oh, Lord.
Great. Oh my
Yep.
God. When I heard him sing, I said, I want to do that. Right. So I knew I wanted to sing like Robert McFerrin. And I knew that I wanted to do whatever that was they were doing because there weren't a whole lot of black examples except for, Hattie McDaniels and people like that who I know what they had to do, what they had to do.
Hmm.
Um, but I knew that show business appealed to me, even though I also knew, even when it was going on, that for instance, Amos and Andy were two white guys. I knew that, but I still liked what it made people do. It made people laugh. It made people feel good, uh, and also to portray um, lives and episodes. To me, was one of the good ways for a black person to deliver the message about being black in the
Wow.
country.
Wow.
Right. So I saw that also as a way to do that. And I knew I wanted to write plays because that was another way to deliver the message of the black experience in this country. For me, a lot of it had to do with me wanting to act, yes, to act, yes, you know, abstractly. But I also knew that I wanted to find a way to transmit to an audience what it meant to grow up in the kind of atmosphere you grew up in, the kind of human being you're immersed in as you grow up in this kind of society. Because I was born at a time when every week, okay, you
Mhm.
heard about a black man being lynched. I mean, by the time I was 5 and 6, I was hearing this every week.
Wow.
Jet magazine would have the names of these guys, all right, and Ebony every month would have the names of these guys, right? So every week you were hearing that, and you also had writers like Robert. What's Robert? Oh, I'll be ashamed of myself. But James Baldwin and people like that, Alice Childress, all of those playwrights inspired me. But I should be ashamed of myself. The other writer, I'll get it.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
yeah, but so from observing that, and reading these people, I knew I wanted to write. I knew I wanted to do what James Baldwin was doing. I knew I wanted to do what Alice Childress was doing. And I knew that I wanted to write songs like what I was hearing. When I was a kid, my grandfather, though he was very hypocritical in the pulpit, twice a week he would listen to what was known as the Bell Telephone Hour
Mhm.
and the Firestone Hour, which was classical music, right? So I knew I wanted to be involved in that, right? So by the time I was, in my teens, I knew that show business is what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to just be a singer. I wanted to be a singer, writer, actor, composer,
Right.
which Providence has blessed me to have become.
Wow.
Uh, Go ahead.
Okay.
Next question. Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, we can go back to that. Well, take me through the journey of Saturday Night Live. I've had so many fond memories of SNL way back in the '70s when we lived in Chicago. My sister and I used to watch it all the time. So I would like to talk to you about your experience during that time, especially as you were one of the original cast members for Saturday Night Live. How did this opportunity come about?
Well, actually, I had written the play, Secret Place.
Okay, okay.
And Lorne Michaels came to town looking for a writer, a black writer
Mm-hmm.
for Saturday Night Live. So I was with a great director by the named Oz Scott. You may not know who he is, but he directed for Colored Girls on Broadway.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
And I think Trezana Beverly, no, I know Trezana Beverly won a Tony for that.
Mm-hmm.
But he and I were in my apartment smoking a joint.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, look, when I'm leaving, when you leave, just lock the door. He said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to this place. NBC says they want a black writer. You know what? We know what was going to happen. So he said, okay. So sure enough, I went there, gave Lauren the play. Lauren Michaels read it and called me in a couple of days and said, I want you to be a member of the writer's staff, right? And when I got there, I didn't realize that there's a great difference between writing a play, which is like 2 hours or more, and writing 30 seconds
Mm.
a minute, right?
That's right.
I was there for the first 5 months and could not get it together.
Dang.
And I was so disappointed in myself, right? Because I always thought I was Superman, right? I could not get it together until finally I did realize that in my play, I had the germ for a joke. In the play, The Secret Place, the black activist group is not really making fun of
Mm-hmm.
the white people who contribute, but they're making a joke about how when there are more white people in the fundraising, there's more money, right?
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
were making a joke about white guilt. They say white guilt sure pays off, right? So I said, I got a joke, I got a joke. But about 2 hours later, when I left the NOLA studios and got back to the actual NBC studios, somebody had already told this guy his, I will not call his name, and this guy had written it as if it was his and didn't give me any credit for it whatsoever.
Wow.
Now, at that time, I, if I get over the top, no matter what skills I have, I'm ready to come at you.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I was already first degree black belt. That meant nothing in jail or in a bar, okay? First degree black belt is good for nothing else but teaching karate. That's it, all right? That's it. And I happen to know at that time that that guy was a wrestling champ from Harvard. Oh, shit, I may have told, excuse me, I may have told you who he is, but Harvard.
I'm act
But,
like I didn't hear nothing you said.
right. But when had determined this particular day that when I went back, I was going to confront him for his theft and was going to come at him to let him know how I felt. Right. Now, at that time, there was a gentleman named Schofield who had already lost the job as producer because he had knocked one of the white producers out. Right. And I knew about that. I said, I don't give a shit. I said, if I lose the job, I don't care. Right. So I go in, and as if Providence or God was in the plans, somebody says to me, Garrett, Lorne is in the green room. He wants you to come and see him,
Wow.
right? So I go in there, and Lorne and all of the cast have told Lorne about Cooley High. And here's the deal. Not only was I a black writer, I was also the conduit for black people to be on the Not Ready for Prime
Wow.
players. So, and look, as if I was trying to lose it, I brought in Oba Babatunde, who was a Tony winner.
Yes,
I
that's right.
brought in Bill Duke, right? I brought in Prisana Beverly, who won the Tony for Not Ready for the Colored Girls, right?
Okay.
And the only reason why she didn't get it, I believe, is because the other ladies who were white, God bless them, did want another woman or a black woman, I don't care what it was, right? But they told Lorne, look, you got him bringing in all these other people. He's an actor. He's got a credit. Lorne saw Cooley High and told me he wanted me to audition, right? And I knew you were going to get later on to who I remember from that group. The lady, I'm going to tell you who I auditioned with, I ought to be ashamed of myself.
It's okay. It'll come to you later.
Yes, I ought to be. Gilda Radner.
We'll go there. Oh man.
I auditioned with Gilda.
Wow.
And the assignment was I was a cab driver taking uh, somebody who just got off the plane at JFK. I was taking them from JFK to New York City, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as the driver, I'm cheating the hell out of her, right? And 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 the other cast members are laughing to beat the band, and that's how I got on the Not Ready for Primetime Players.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, man. That's
Yeah.
a heck of a story, And I'm
Right.
just
Right.
thinking of, you're saying Gilda, and all I'm thinking is Rosanna Dana. You know,
Right. 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 She was so brilliant, man. So
yeah,
brilliant.
she was
I
amazing.
mean, I did work at the Black Arts Theater where we did improvisation, but not like they did at Second City.
Yeah.
Second City, they teach a different technique, and I was amazed at Gilda's mastery of that technique. You never even know she was acting, or she just so natural.
She
And
was.
yeah, and John Belushi as well. But Gilda to me was to this day is the most brilliant improvisationist that I've ever seen.
You all had an all-star cast.
Yeah, yeah.
Saturday Night Live back in the 70s was just amazing. And I was very young. I must have been about 6 or 7 years
20,
old.
21,
Or,
six,
I'll be
6 or 7,
52 next week. But
six
but
or seven, six or
I'm not
seven.
that old.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm
I
sorry.
was
I'm
born
sorry.
in 1968.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Then I think that's 1 year before I joined the NAA, then the AARP.
Yeah, you're funny, man. So listen, during the 90s, you worked on two impactful Black American sitcoms,
Yes, I did.
Martin and the Jamie Foxx Show.
Yes,
And
I did.
interestingly, I think I mentioned to you earlier, my first guest was my brother, my good friend Kenny Buford, who was one of the long-running
Yes, Kenny.
writers.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
so
yes.
what impresses you the most about those two sitcoms?
Wow. First of all, that I was lucky enough to get them because I had gone through a whole down for like 6 or 7, 8 years old. I was heavily involved with cocaine,
Hmm.
and it led to me really. Matter of fact, part of my experience Saturday Night Live also, I try to not blame anything, including the drug, for whatever happens to me. Uh, Not only did I feel that way before I became a Buddhist, but Buddhist principles will tell you that basically you're at fault for whatever happens to you.
That's right.
So um, that was at a lower ebb, in my life, and I was lucky enough to get Martin
Hmm.
first, and Martin is an unqualified comic genius.
Oh,
Okay,
amazing.
but let me start off and say, because I'm going to say some stuff that may not be, you know, good. He's also, I learned, uh, certifiably bipolar,
Okay.
and has been prescribed to take his medicine,
Hmm.
which apparently he does not take, right, when he should. Because I was shot and nearly killed in 1990. I ran the LA Marathon in 1993. I got shot in 94, and I was in a coma for 3 days.
Oh,
Right?
wow.
Yeah, and I came out of the coma with a great doctor by the name of Dr. Randy Hawkins, who
Mhm.
right now is on the California Board of Supervisors. You
Wow,
see his
amazing.
name, right? Oh yeah, he's a great doctor. When I woke up, he would look at me saying, "Take it out of his mouth." He
Hmm,
was talking about the catheters they put in your mouth.
that's right.
Apparently, I had bitten off 3 of them
Wow.
while I was in the coma. Right? He's taken it out of his mouth. He's bitten off 3 of them already, and I spent about 3 months in the hospital while I went to 10 major operations. That includes 2 stents. You know what a stent is?
Yes, I do.
That's where they put something here, which is hooked up to your aorta, and they put stuff in it, right? Well, one got infected, but that's a
Mm,
major operation. So then they had to put it over here,
okay.
right? So that's another major operation. And they had 8 others in which they had to pull a bullet out of my spine and a lot of other stuff for repair. So by the time I was through, I had gone through 10 major operations. But after the third or fourth operation, I get a you ready for it? A script from the Martin Show saying my character Stan sells the radio station and moves to China. Now, Halima, does that mean I'm out of the show? Does that sound like to you that I'm out of the show? Come on, Halima, tell the truth now.
Yeah,
Tell
yeah.
the truth.
Okay.
So and at that time, the makeup lady was in the room, right? And I'd been wondering why she was there. I said to her, I said, Geneva, does that sound like I'm out of show? She says, it sounds like it to me, right? So Martin basically fired me while I was in the hospital
Oh,
undergoing a major operation, 10 major operations. And the only reason why I tell it like this is because he has gone on other stations and said the exact opposite, that he sat beside me and prayed for me, which he never did because the hospitals don't want to get sued, so they don't let it. If you undergoing that kind of stuff, they put detectives by your door,
yeah.
right, to let nobody in. And on top of that, my ex-wife, who says I'm not funny, uh, my ex-wife, my ex-wife was also by the door, so nobody was allowed to get in.
Wow.
So not only did Martin fire me when I was in the process of 10 major operations, never once did he call to say anything like, "Hey, man, I'm sorry," anything like that. To this day, but I let me repeat, I look upon him as one of the reasons why Def Jam succeeded. He is an extraordinarily a genius comedian, extraordinarily talented man.
Wow. That's it. I don't even know what to say about that. That's a pretty interesting story, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But getting to Jamie Foxx, you want to get to Jamie Foxx,
Yeah.
it's like the difference between night and day. Okay, Jamie was not only an extraordinary, ingenious comedian, he's an actor. Also, did you know he was playing in church and the piano and
I'm
organ by the time he was 13 and 14?
I'm very familiar with. He is a very talented brother, you know.
Very talented man,
Yeah.
and very inspiring. And you quite often he would not leave the set between shots. He just tell jokes, right? And instead of you going and prepare for the next set, you sit there and listen to his behind, and then oh my God, I go get you. But Jamie is a very, very talented man that I enjoyed working with him, and wish I could do it again.
Yeah, he's an extraordinary actor. I mean, everything he plays in, it's like it touch everything he touches turns to gold.
Turns to gold.
Turns
Yeah.
to gold, you
Well,
know?
except me, I stayed black.
Well, you still gold
Yeah.
and bronze a little bit.
Black gold, oil.
That's right. That's right. So you don't, and not to mention you from New Orleans, man. Come on now.
Yes, come on. Yes, hey. We got a lot of that going. It's in the air.
Got it going on. So who are some unsung heroes from Black American film and TV who you feel don't get much praise?
Oh my God.
I'm sure there are many, but hey,
Yeah. I'm about to. Oh my God. I ought to be ashamed of myself because now I'm forgetting the guy's name. Oh shucks. Oh, I ought to be ashamed of myself. Man. Shucks.
it's okay. You can come back to that if you
Yeah,
want.
we come back to it.
You can come back to that if you like. You
Yeah.
know,
Um, But for that matter, I don't really know if you understand where I'm coming from. But in terms of, I don't know, the ascent of comedy into where it is now, there's
yes,
a lot of people who I don't think give Red Fox the kind of,
yeah,
I don't know, in-depth appreciation they should. Because although his activism was not as obvious as,
mhm,
say, Richard's was. I think it led to what Richard was doing. Because you remember when Red Fox was around, his things were banned.
yeah.
Did you know that?
That's
Him
right.
and Mom's Neighborhood, their records were banned.
They were. I
Yeah,
did,
yeah.
you know, and even I look at a lot of the
Cameron Lee.
see, I knew it's gonna come.
Cameron Lee, yes. Cameron Lee, yes.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah, yeah.
that's interesting. That's interesting. You know, going back to Red Fox, I look at a lot of the old shows of Sanford and Son, and when you look at the era that we're in now, there were a lot of things that were said that we can't even say today.
Can't even say today. Can't even say today.
But you know, it was funny, and it still is
Yes,
funny. You know,
yeah,
there
yeah.
we feel like even when you think about musicians or artists of any kind, um, it's important to do something that's memorable.
Yes.
You know, and so when you watch those old shows and you say, "Man, we didn't say that word. They don't say that right now. We're
No,
being
no.
blockade from saying certain things," but it was funny. It was
Well,
kind of,
well, when you look
it
at
was real.
right, when you look at Saturday Night Live, half of what they did, you couldn't do it now.
No, you can't.
You can't, and I mean, I'm not one for, I'm not like what's in Ronald Reagan, you
Yes.
know, I'm not to that kind of stuff. Uh, although, let me explain Buddhism to you. In a Buddhist temple, they make no separation. They don't
Mm,
reject anybody because
mhm.
Buddhism is not only a religion; it's a philosophy of life.
The way of life. That's
You don't
right.
have to believe in God or not believe in God to practice the humanitarian process, the humanitarian activity, which is Buddhism more about human beings interaction, interaction. All right.
Hmm.
So you could be an atheist, you could be somebody who believes in God, or an agnostic and be in the Buddhist temple. But what would I do? Oh shucks.
No,
I
that's
mean,
okay. It's interesting.
yeah,
When did you become Buddhist?
2009, 2009.
And
I
so,
had already been practicing it in a way and didn't realize it, okay? Because the hypocrisy which I saw in the Christian religion as I grew up and it was immersed in it really turned me off. By the time I was 15 or 16, I knew there are certain things I didn't believe in, but I had to act like I did.
right.
So by the time I was 30, I officially just read myself up. But when I saw first my grandfather hurt my grandmother really critically by doing what he did, because by the time I was 16 or 17, I realized how hurt she was by it, though she never said anything bad to me about my grandfather. But I also saw that many of the ministers were doing the very same thing he was doing, though they were in the pulpit preaching one thing. So I decided that probably the only people who I can trust to be real Christians are nuns.
Hmm. Interesting.
And I can't even trust them, but
Hmm.
probably monks and nuns who are away from everybody can't get involved with certain activity. But to be the leaders of it, for instance, the hypocrisy from with it, particularly the white Christian society in this country,
Yeah.
was something I was aware of in New Orleans by the time I was, what, 10 years old,
Yeah.
right? Because they were the ones who were, in fact, giving credit to what was being done in the police. You know, you'd have somebody being lynched, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every once in a while, a white guy would be caught and brought to court, but you knew what would happen. There would be nullification by an old white jury. So you'd have your kids seeing that the Christian community is all seen in favor of a black man being killed,
Hmm.
you know, and white men getting away with it, you know, and you're also aware by the time you're all aware of anything, that's about, you know, the hundreds of years from 1619 to 1862 meant the Christian community was also dealing with keeping slavery going. So the way in which the white Christian community deals with, say, Trump right now, who's an obvious racist,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who's an
Mm-hmm.
obvious man who's narcissistic. The only reason why they've sold their soul to him is because he has what they want, which is ultra right young judges who will keep a more ultra right disposition in this country, even though the country itself is going more toward dispersity, right?
Right.
So there's a way in which all of that, by the time I was 30, I said, well, damn, I'm not going to be no Christian, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I began to deal with myself in a way that I later on find out was really deal with me, Garrett, being responsible for whatever. I practiced transcendental meditation, which I do to this day, but it was still not doing for me the inner thing that I wanted to happen. Until finally in 2009, I began to realize that Buddhism was what I had been doing all along. And I chant twice a day, and it's been really holding me in good stead.
Wow.
Not that there aren't Buddhists who aren't liars too. I'm aware of that. Every religion, I mean, Buddhist countries have fought back and forth for centuries. The Dalai Lama right now is a renegade, right? He is being searched for by other Buddhist groups,
Yeah.
you know, to do harm to his body. Although the Dalai Lama is not really the kind of Buddhist I am. I'm what is known as a Mahayana Buddhist.
Okay.
By, by that, it means anybody can be a Buddha.
I see what you're saying.
And if you read the Lotus Sutra, that's what the guy himself said, right? The last 8 years of Buddha's life, he said, whatever you think I'm doing, you can do it too. Well, there's a group called Hinayana who uh, still believe that the Buddha himself is being reincarnated in the Dalai Lama, which we do not believe. And
Right.
that in order to be a Buddhist, you have to go through particular sects. The Mahayana say, no, you don't have to do that. Go inside yourself, reframe it yourself, chant yourself. You can, in fact, become a Buddha too and become enlightened. So that Mahayana Buddhism, just, I'm getting off the track.
No, no, no. It's okay. It's you're not off track. You're actually
Okay.
on track because
Okay.
you found something that fit your purpose, your being, tailor made for you. And even though none of us are perfect, no matter what our spiritual preferences are,
right.
It's how we make it work for us and how we make it work for our way of life.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
I understand that, and it may not work for some, but it may work for you and others. And and I have an appreciation for humanity.
Right.
I have an appreciation for certain aspects of humanity that allows you to be free and have that spiritual factor. And that's what I'm hearing from you. So I understand. I understand.
Well, Buddhism tells you don't blame everybody else for your troubles. Go inside yourself and
Yes.
find and
Yes.
improve yourself, and the outside will improve. Will improve. Basically, that's what it's about.
Wow, that's interesting. That's a conversation. I like those kind of conversations.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
love learning about different religions. I love learning about different levels of spirituality. Because we all have our way of understanding certain concepts and ideas.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't knock anyone.
Yeah.
We can
Me either. Me either.
we can argue. There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with having an
Yeah.
opinion.
And
Um,
just like what I said about Christianity, I have great reverence for everybody's religion, and I know when I'm looking at a Christian who's for real. Okay? But because of the 30 years, don't try to argue with me about the Bible. Okay,
that's
you'll
right.
be in trouble. You will be in a whole lot of trouble,
Oh
right?
boy.
Especially if you're one of those people who says Jesus was white, blonde, and blue-eyed. All right, go to Revelations first chapter, 14th and 15th. It says he had what? Woolly hair,
You better recognize.
which is not long and blonde, and he had bronze skin. All right.
Hmm.
So get out of the way if you're telling me he looked like that picture that even the black churches have. And I understand why they have it.
Of
You
course,
know,
of
it's
course.
not even that. It's not even that they believe that. Hey, look, everybody's doing it. Let's just do it. Although some churches have the guy with the dreads.
Yeah, I know. Like they had on Good Times, remember?
Right, 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 right.
Man, So
Yes.
you started out as a singer and arranger, and then you became an actor. But talk to me about the comedy side of you.
Well, as I told you now, Saturday Night Live put that mantle on me
Okay.
so that after that, everywhere I went, I had to be funny, right?
I
I've
understand.
even had people, I walk in the room and they said, tell me a joke. And I would refer them to my ex-wife, because like I said, my ex-wife used to tell me, nigga, you ain't funny, right? So, and she's a beautiful lady. Actually, that's a lie. She never said that. But now I'm a whore for a laugh. So, but she's a beautiful ex-dancer, right? She lives in Florida now.
Mm-hmm.
But uh, the funny part of me, I don't try to be funny because I had a comedy club actually.
Oh, really?
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, here in LA. It was called Downtown Comedy Club, and later we named it Blues and Comedy, so I could mix up my musical side and my comedic side. And because quite often the blues is just a joke in music, because when the guy is singing blues and says he's going down to the river and put his head on the river on there and let the 215 run on, he ain't gonna do that. Basically, he wants to kill somebody, but it's a way of just getting it out. But for me, comedy, I actually learned more what real comedians do
Mm.
because I had one of the great comedians of this country, Lunell. Do you know who she is?
Oh, yes. I follow her on Instagram. She cracks me up.
My God, is she brilliant?
She is a brilliant one. She's
And,
funny, but she's brilliant. I mean,
right.
amazing.
And she was at my club more times than I can remember.
Wow.
Bless her. She, because she was worth way, way more money than I could pay her. But she came anyway. But we had people like that at the club all the time. And I learned from people like her that
Wow.
the best approach to comedy is to start a conversation with the audience
That's right.
and bet that somewhere what you set up is going to happen, right? Or if it doesn't, you can gear the conversation to
Hmm.
some of your jokes. But talk to the audience, make a conversation. Don't be afraid of self-deprecatory jokes. Go
Yes.
for them. It's right away. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I used to start off my um, 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 I start off my sets with, I want y'all to congratulate me, congratulate me because I just really reached the goal that I've been searching for. Yes, that's right. I, I'm, yeah, I'm completely free of drugs, right? And everybody clap, everybody clap, everybody clap. And I say, yeah, because I ran out yesterday, right? And it was Sunday. They said, what the hell did you talk about? Yeah. But I will not be free
Right.
tomorrow. Matter of fact, in a couple of hours, I won't be free, okay? Because I got my connection right out the door. But I would start off like that, you know, and just start a conversation. And I began, and I become nowhere near somebody like her, but
Mm-hmm.
I become, well, I'm satisfied with with how the audience responds, you know. But for me, the best comedians are those kinds of comedians who can conversate with the audience. Um, I have a young man, his name is Willis Turner,
Okay.
who particularly when he's at his top, he starts off talking to the audience. That's what he does, you know. And I found out, I said, yeah, do that, because they're going to come back with something silly and stupid, you know. Or you're going to say something stupid, they're going to catch you on it, right? But if you, because usually you will have a comrade from the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, they're with you if you having a conversation and being self-deprecatory all the time, you know.
Yes.
You know, and so for me, that's how I learned. The club was open for like 11 years, and you know, um, and we got reviewed by what's Harvey Levin? What's that? TMZ?
Yeah, it is.
Now dig this, dig this. This is a black man downtown trying to start a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Halima, you know what TMZ said? Now, mind you, I was downtown.
Uh-oh.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it was Skid Row, but it also had Omni hotels down there. It had all kinds of beautiful restaurants down there.
Wow.
TMZ says Garrett Morris is on Skid Row.
What?
Yeah, not a black man is starting a business, right? Because if you're black, you can't start a business, you know?
See.
But anyway, we were there for like 11 years, and I got to mention that my partner was a great guy. His name was Kevin Garnier.
Okay.
Who's a member of the Garnier family who are from where?
Nolans.
Nolans, that's right. Matter of fact, his sister, Donna Garnier, is a great physician's assistant who I talk to all the time. But their family, their father was a nearly white man by the name of Winslow Garnier, who was activist on the black side, right? And the white people didn't like the fact that he was nearly white and not saying, I'm white. So he used to come in and sit in the back of the church, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they started coming at his behind, right? He had to actually flee New Orleans or get killed.
Wow.
Right? And if you saw Winslow, you'd see he was what they used to call one of them Poisson Blanc.
That's on belong. That's right.
He was pretty much Poisson Blanc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of that in New Orleans
Yeah.
and all those parishes.
And for people who don't know, Poisson Blanc means you can pass for white because, you know, right. Although she's very young, she's old enough to know that term. Yeah.
I know because remember I told you my parents were born in the 20s.
All right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
They had high Yellis and Poisson Blanc, right?
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, talk to me about two of my favorite movies, Cooley High and Car Wash. Man, Cooley High, every time I hear that song, so hard to find.
Well, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how I got that because Michael Schultz, a directing genius, you know who Michael Schultz is, right? Directed a play called Dream on Monkey Mountain, which was also written by another genius whose name was Derek Walcott. He was from the West Indies, I think from Bermuda or Nassau, right? Derek Walcott won, I don't think there's been any other award like this. He won the National Olympic Award for playwriting.
Wow.
I've never heard of that before I heard him.
Me neither.
Right. Derek Walcott wrote this thing called Dream on Monkey Mountain, And a great actor by the name of Afolabi Ajao died, and Michael gave me the role of Suri in this play, right? And later on, when Michael was asked to do Cooley High, he wanted me to do the teacher, Mr. Mason.
Okay.
And, and at that time, I was a teacher at Pier 71 on the East Side, New York. That's another thing I did. Not I wrote two plays. I also taught high school for a year and a half in New York City, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So Michael says, Garrett, I want you to do the thing. So the producer of the thing didn't want me to play the role of a 30-year-old teacher in a high school. And I'm saying to myself, what else do I have to do but be that to get the motherfucking role, right? You know what I mean? I am 30. I am teaching school, also teaching, I was teaching also the Poverty Project kids as well, because I was a group called Mobilization for Youth, which I also taught kids there, right? Those teachers got paid like $50 a week or something like that. So um, he had to take me to the producer, this lady, and convince her to have me do Mr. Mason.
Wow.
Yeah, else I wouldn't have done it, you know. And it became one of the roles that a whole lot of people remember me for. And I was happy to be in it because of Glenn Turman, the great, great actor,
Yes.
Glenn
Yes.
Turman, yes, you know, and a whole lot of other people, you know, who are still names, you know, but yeah, it was a great cast we were, and I really loved it, you know.
Wow.
Oh, and by the way,
What's
in
that?
Cooley High, the two guys who play the mean guy, Stone and Robert,
Yes. Yes.
you know how they got cast?
Oh.
Michael was sitting on a chair inside the living room of this house, and somebody said, "Yeah, Michael, come check this out." And they saw these two mean, I'm sorry, mean motherfuckers
That's okay.
walking, walking down the street. So Michael said, "Yeah, they look perfect." So Michael says, "Hey, come here, guys." He said, "What's your name?" One say Stone. His name Robert. He said, "Look, have you ever acted before?" They said, "No." He said, "You're perfect, right?" And he cast those guys as Stone and Robert.
Wow.
Right,
I never knew
right,
that, man.
right, right. So the two tough guys, their names, their real names are not Stone and Robert, but they had never acted before.
Well, guess what? They fit right in.
They fit right in. They fit right in, man.
Now that I never knew that story. Now that's
Yeah,
common.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What would you say some of the challenges that you face in the 60s and 70s up to now as a Black actor, comedian, and based on your journey, how have things changed in your eyes?
Well, you know, like I told you, when I talked about being a writer or being acting or something,
Mhm.
one of the challenges is really getting a different point of view on the screen that you that equated with the life you know about in this country, right? For instance, my girlfriend, one of our favorite um, channels is TMC,
Okay.
TCM rather, right? And we're always amazed at how way back there, every movie was all white, all white, all white. And you're amazed that you would have a country in which that's what they want, see, but white people all the time, and therefore a white mentality and a white view of justice and democracy and family life and all of that, right? So at a certain point, it's not so much you wanted to eliminate that, you want to add to it. Oh, here's another way that Americans come out. Here's another way that they live. Here's another form of the challenges they face. Here's another, you know, the ups and downs that they face, right? So uh, acting, if you lucky in the 60s, you got a role that might help you do that. But usually it was with all white casts and some little bit of something, all once in a while an all black cast, right? But for the most part, for me in the 60s, particularly, that was one of the challenges, besides making a living and paying the rent, right? Right? Uh, But in terms of your occupation, one of the challenges, the main challenge, was trying to get a point of view that you thought equated what you felt was the real reality in this country, right? And although we've got a whole lot of breaking new ground, let's face it. I was just in a movie called Self-Made with Octavia Spencer. Yeah, directed by not Eva DuVernay. Oh, she's gonna kick me at my behind. Oh God, Demond and excuse me. She's looking at this, darling. Please forgive me. Two beautiful ladies directed this, but those are attempts by Black people to bring another view, because you and I both knew about Miss Walker a long time ago, right? But we didn't know a whole lot of stuff about her, including that she was basically the first female millionaire, I believe, in this country, the first female millionaire. Have people like Ava DuVernay and people like that who are not only breaking new ground in the industry period, but by being women as well, they're breaking new ground. I'm with a guy right now, Scott, who has a show on TV called Black Lightning, which is, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's about Black superheroes. We know they're all fictional, but why not have a Black one sometimes, y'all? Yeah? I mean, even if you have watermelon as his emblem, we don't care. Long as he's flying in the sky and beating up people, that's all right with me. You know what I mean? Hey, watermelon and cantaloupe. And by the way, watermelon, one of the ingredients for watermelon is in Viagra. Did you know that? Wait a minute, I don't have your sound, by the way.
I said, no, I did not know that.
That's right, eat a lot of watermelon. Or have your boyfriend eat a lot of watermelon, Halima. Okay.
You're funny, man. You're hilarious. So are you working on anything, and do you still sing?
Yes, but now I sing a lot more blues.
Okay.
Except that the fact that at 83 my voice has come down a couple steps.
You're 83 years young.
Well, I have actually an album out, a CD out called Black Creole Chronicles.
What's it called? Black Creole Chronicles?
Black Creole Chronicles, and it has 4 of my songs that I wrote and a couple of others. One by Muddy Waters. The other song, Walking Down Bourbon Street. Storyville, another song called Storyville.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Check that out.
Yeah, and another song called Living on Top of the World.
Okay.
Yeah, but check it out, okay?
I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yeah, and also me and Bill Duke are reworking the play, The Secret Place.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working. Yeah.
When do you think that's going to, like, come to
right now, because of the pandemic,
yes, of course.
we've been held up for a minute, but we're going to get back to it, and hopefully it'll be done by some theater. If the Not Hurling Theater doesn't do it, then it'll be done by, hopefully somebody will bless us with their liking it enough to do it.
I'm excited to hear about that. I definitely want to follow up with you on it.
Okay.
So what advice would you give young people today? Some strong whole advice for these young folks.
Well, don't follow my example, okay? Okay. Eat a lot of watermelon if you're a guy, okay?
You need to stop.
Well, I'm going to say something you heard before. Believe in yourself, for real.
That's right.
You know? But belief in yourself doesn't mean, and also make happiness a standard part of whatever's going on inside you. Mind you, being happiness doesn't mean you're not facing obstacles. The ability to be happy despite obstacles will take you over, right? Take charge of yourself. No matter what's going on inside you, see yourself as the first sort of changing whatever is going to happen outside, right?
Right.
If an audition you don't hook up, don't go away blaming whoever. go home and hook up yourself inside, you know. So every day, whatever it is, be it prayer, be it meditation, be it, in my case, boats, be it whatever, every day, spend about 30 minutes going inside and refurbishing that inside. Clean out any dross from the last day, right?
That's right.
Be sure and take credit for whatever is happening in your life, first of all, be it good or bad. And if it's bad, really don't blame anybody else, you know. For me, that for me has become something that I live by, and to this day, it carries me over.
That's beautiful. I mean, that's a great way to end this segment. And those are some powerful words and some words that we all should live by, no matter how young or old we are.
Well, Halima, thank you for having me, girl. Again, I appreciate that you are non-judgmental.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, okay, yes, because I have a lot of warrants. You can check Sheriff Bull Connor right there in Orleans Parish.
I
If
sure
he's,
will.
he
When I
must be 99 years old though now.
that means he don't remember anything, or
Don't
maybe
remember
he does.
nothing.
Who knows?
Don't ever a goddamn thing.
Well, listen, thank you, Garrett, so much. I want to thank you for being on my show. I so appreciate you and all of your contributions to our lovely New Orleans, our culture, our legacy, the film and television industry, and to Black Hollywood. You are definitely the real deal and an inspiration. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Halima, you are an inspiration to me as well. Your son, Jelani, certainly is. And what's your other son's name?
Floyd. His name is Floyd.
Give them both my regards,
I
okay?
sure will.
And
I
tell
sure
them
will.
they're lucky to have a dynamite activist mom,
Amen.
okay?
I appreciate
No, really, tell them, let them know that I'm looking at you and knowing that they are blessed, okay?
I'm grateful. I'm grateful to my foundation. I'm grateful to God. I'm grateful to my parents for bringing me to this earth in their mid 40s, you know, but it's a
Yes,
blessing, man. It's a blessing
yes.
to speak with people like yourself. You know, you have so much history, and I lean on you and your wisdom. So
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you. I really do.
Thank you. I appreciate that too.
Okay, everyone, this has been Anything and Everything with the amazing Garrett Morris. Until next time, peace and blessings.
Thank you, everybody, and don't do nothing I wouldn't do.
Indeed.
I think it's time to quiet down a little bit and hook up a love song, which actually I wrote. It's called Come Back Valentine. Come back Valentine. Come drink this lover's wine. Come back to me and stay in lover's land forever and a day. And if you come back, girl, of this you can be sure, that I will sanctify this love forevermore. Make our love holier, sacred to the core. So come back, Valentine. Say that you'll be mine, my only Valentine. And yes, dear heart, I know that I was such a fool to let you go. Oh, how I suffered, Valentine, since you've been gone.
tossing and turning on my pillow all alone, dreaming about you as I sing this sad, sad song. Come back, Valentine, Valentine. The fragrance, it is gone. Like music, it has vanished in the air. But if you come back, girl, the flowers will bloom again, banishing sorrows, transforming all of my pain into bright tomorrows where sunshine conquers rain. So come back, Valentine. Come back, Valentine. Come back, Valentine.